You asked and we listened. In this video right up here, I broke down my process for recording a video podcast fast and free, but you wanted more, a lot more. Today, I'm going to reveal my entire process using OBS Studio that has transformed my audio-only podcast into a thriving video podcast. Whether you're a beginner looking to level up or an experienced podcaster looking for perfection, this comprehensive guide covers it all. And the best part, these tools won't cost you a dime. From optimizing your recording settings and creating dynamic scenes to seamlessly integrating remote guests with VDO.Ninja and streamlining your post-production workflow in Premiere Pro, we've got you covered. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have the skills necessary to produce a video podcast right from your home setup. So if you're ready to take your podcasting game to the next level, stick around because this is the OBS Studio Masterclass you've been waiting for. First, a quick disclaimer. OBS Studio is open source software. It's community supported and it's extremely powerful. But like with anything that is free, it isn't the most user-friendly option to record a video podcast. If you're looking for something a bit more user-friendly, might I suggest checking out my breakdown of Riverside.fm right over there. That said, if you're like me and you like going under the hood and using technology in new and interesting ways, then let's get started. First off, it goes without saying, head over to obsproject.com and download a copy of the latest version of OBS Studio. While you're there, I also suggest bookmarking the plugins section. The best part about OBS Studio is their community releases new plugins all the time that can enhance your podcast. With OBS Studio installed, let's start it up and work on getting our recording settings optimized.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do once we actually have installed OBS Studio is we're going to go through the process of configuring it for recording. You can do streaming, you can do recording, you can do both with OBS Studio, but for our purposes, because we're going to use this to record a podcast, we're going to want to record it. So in OBS Studio, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go up to Tools, and we're going to click on the Auto Config Wizard. Okay, this is going to bring up the auto configuration wizard, and here we can choose whether or not we want to optimize this for streaming, optimize it for recording, or if we want to actually use this as a virtual camera for things like Zoom or any other third-party video conferencing software. For our purposes, we're actually going to just click optimize for recording. Then we'll click next. And here's where we want to choose a couple things when it comes to our resolution and frames per second. I'm going to keep it at 1920 by 1080 because that's standard HD. For our frames per second, we can choose whether we want to do 30 or 60. I would pick 30 just because the majority of webcams and cameras that you use are going to fit that frame rate better. But if you have a camera that supports up to 60 frames per second, you can use that. So we'll pick 30 and then we'll hit next. Now, what it's going to do is it's actually going to look at what our actual computer can handle and give us not only the set frame resolution and the frame rate, but it's also going to tell us what our recording encoder should be and also what our quality should be. So this is really handy because you don't have to do a whole lot of guesswork when it comes to your recording. You use the auto configuration wizard, it's going to give you the best settings right there, and then we can just hit apply settings. If at any time you need to mess with your settings, please click on the settings button. And then for us, we're going to go down to output, and you'll see that's right now it's default set to simple. I'm going to choose advanced. Okay. And then we're going to click on the recording tab. Now in here, it's taken all the stuff that we did in our auto configuration wizard, but I'm going to change a couple things here. First of all, you'll see right here where it says audio track. By default, it's only selected one audio track. And this just means that all of our program audio is going to go to that one audio track. But I don't want just one audio track. I want to have isolated audio tracks for each person who comes into my OBS Studio session. So I'm going to enable multiple tracks recorded during my record sessions. So you can record up to 6 distinct different audio tracks using this method. In our recording format, I'm going to change the recording format to MKV. And this is just personal preference. I like MKVs because they make it so that your recording can't be corrupted if something were to happen in the middle of your recording. So let's say your computer shuts down or OBS crashes or something along those lines. MKVs allow you to keep everything up until the point when your MKV file was cut off. So you're not losing an entire session of your recording. They do require a little bit of extra work on the back end, but we'll get to that later. Video encoder, I'm going to keep it as is because we're using what was recommended to us. Let's actually jump to our audio. And for audio, I'm going to change the bit rate and make it something like 192, just because I want a higher quality audio recording. And once we're done with everything here, we'll click OK.
It is really important to mention that before you start recording your full episodes, that you do some test recordings with different encoders to ensure that your recordings of your podcast come out without any issues. With our recording settings set up, let's move on to designing our scenes. Scenes are the basic building blocks of your video podcast in OBS Studio. Scenes can feature cameras, graphics, text, and even programs that are running on your computer. For a video podcast, we're going to set up 3 scenes: a solo shot of myself, a solo shot of my guest, and then a combined 2-shot.
So back inside of OBS Studio, I'm going to click on the scenes section here. You'll see that I have a little plus button right here. So we're going to click plus, and we're just going to call this our camera raw solo of Brian. From there, we can then move on to the sources section. And this is where you can actually put in the different sources for this scene. We just click on the plus button, and we have multiple options for our scene. We can put in image slideshows, we can put in different audio sources, we can put in text. For our purposes though, I want to bring in my camera. You'll notice that there's nothing in here called camera, and that's where it could be kind of confusing. But video capture is going to be our camera device. So I'm going to click on video capture device. We'll just call this Brian's camera, and we'll click OK. And from here, we'll get to choose where our video camera is. And you see I have a couple different devices here. I'm going to pick my OBSBot Tiny 2 camera. Okay, and you're going to see, hey, there I am. So we'll click OK. Now, one of the things you're going to see is that my camera right now is way too big. And that's because this is a 4K camera, and I'm in a 1080p canvas. So I'll need to fix this. Now, we can right-click, and we can choose Transform and choose Fit to Screen. And boom, hey, there we go. Now, I see that I have a little bit of pieces of my screen on the sides here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch this out a bit by just bringing it a little bit out and going a little bit off screen there. You can see now that it's properly fixed. And this is very good. Now, the one thing you're going to notice here is that this brought in my camera, but it did not bring in my audio. So what I'm going to do is again go back to my sources tab here and click the plus icon. And this time we're going to choose audio input capture. Okay. Now we're just going to call this Brian's mic, and we'll click OK. Okay. And then it's going to ask me, okay, what is the device that you want to add in? I'll choose my Scarlett, which is my microphone. We'll click OK. Now, right now you can see, oh, I'm really peaking there. So we're going to want to bring this audio source down a bit. Okay. And you can see now that my audio source is in play, but you're not going to be able to hear this. Okay. So one of the things that you might have to do if you have different sources and you want to be able to hear them, if you don't have a capture device like I have with the Scarlett Solo where I can literally monitor myself, what we're going to need to do is go into the audio properties and adjust this microphone. Let's click on the little 3 dots here, and we'll click on advanced audio properties. And you get this window, and this window looks a little scary, but we'll get through it. Okay. Now, first up, we know that my microphone is a mono source. Okay. It's not a stereo source. So let's click mono, and you'll see off the bat that's changed my VU meter. On top of that, you'll see right here where it says audio monitoring. This is where you can choose what you want that audio output to go to. If you just want it to go to the program and only go to the program and not be able to hear it in your own headphones, have monitor off. Okay, we don't need to monitor it. If you do not have a way of hearing yourself or hearing your guests, then I would suggest doing monitor and output. Okay, clicking this will basically allow you to hear your guests. And then, as I mentioned, my Scarlett Solo has a direct monitor button, so I can hear myself that way as well. We're also going to change our tracks here. Okay, so our tracks right now, we have all of our audio going to all of these different tracks. Now, I don't want that, right? I want my audio going to isolated tracks. Now, one of the things that I suggest doing is actually having one track be your program, so all of your audio sources to one, okay? And then another one going to all of your different isolated tracks, okay? So for me, my program is going to be track 1 right here. And my microphone, I want to be track 2, but I don't want it to be on 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we'll just uncheck 3, 4, 5, and 6. And so now when I'm recording my podcast, track 1 is going to get all of my program audio, including my microphone and any other sources that I decide to bring in. And then track 2 is going to be just my isolated audio track. So we'll click close. And now our microphone is all set up.
For my guest, I'm going to utilize VDO.Ninja. I've mentioned this open source remote recording software a few times.
Now, VDO.Ninja, just fair warning, it's open source software, so it is a little tricky and we got to play around with it to get it to work. But I really believe that VDO.Ninja is one of the best ways to bring in remote recorded guests free if you're using OBS Studio. So in VDO.Ninja, what we're going to actually do is we're going to first create a room. Okay, so click create room. And in this room, we want to enter a couple details here. So I'm going to create just a room called test room 1. And I'll just type in Libsyn. So you can create a password. I'm not going to do it for this example, but in actual practice, I'd suggest creating a password. And that password will be the thing that you share with your guests so that they can enter into your room. Down here, we have the preferred video codec. Okay, now you can keep it as default. I'm going to change it to VP9 because that's just what I like. And then from there, we can go into the control center for the director. Okay. Now this is the control center for the director. We have all of our different guests that we can bring in. You can invite a guest by copying this link and sharing it. And you can also capture this entire group scene if we wanted to. Now, one thing I want to make sure I'm doing is that I want my guests on the VDO.Ninja side to see me. Okay. Now, the way we're going to do that is actually by turning on OBS Studio's virtual camera. All right. So we're in OBS Studio. And we're going to come over to the Start Virtual Camera button, okay? Now, clicking this button will start the virtual camera so that anything that I do in OBS Studio, maybe I change a scene, maybe I change sources, whatever it is, whoever is in VDO.Ninja is going to see that as well. And we want that. We want our guests to see what is happening during the actual recording process, right? Maybe you cut to a different source. Maybe you cut to a sound bite or a video clip or whatever it is. We want the guests to know what is happening during that time. So I suggest having virtual camera on, and then back in VDO.Ninja, what we can do then is enable the director's microphone and video. So you can see this button right here at the bottom. We'll click that. You'll see right here at the bottom, there is my actual video source. If we click the gear, there's our OBS Studio virtual camera. Okay. So now my side of the remote recording process is set up. Let's now send this over to our guest. Okay. And the way we do that is just by copying this link right up here where it says invite a guest. Just copy this link and send it. On my phone right here, all I'm going to do is just paste it and hit go. And you're going to see that I now have the option to join a room with a camera, screen share to that room. I'm going to click join with camera. It's going to say, hey, which one are you going to use? Are you going to allow your microphone? Yes. Okay. And then we can allow access it. So here I am right there. Okay. Right now it's using my front camera. I actually want to use my back camera because I like the look of it. Okay. So use my back camera. You're going to see there's my keyboard, and we can choose bring our microphone source in, which for this by default is going to be your iPhone microphone. If you have another microphone plugged in, you probably could bring that in as well, and then choose your output device. Okay. Which is for this one, the system default. Okay. So I'm going to click start, and inside of VDO.Ninja, you're now going to see me as a guest. So what I'm going to do is now to bring this into OBS Studio, we're going to copy the solo video link right here. So we copy that, and we'll jump back into OBS Studio. And to add in our guest, it's really simple. We're again going to create a new scene. This time we'll call this guest 1 raw. And in here, I'm going to add in a browser source. We just call this guest 1. And we want this browser source to be 1920 by 1080. And what we want to make sure we do is that we control the audio via OBS. Okay, we want OBS to be the thing that is controlling the audio for this source. Okay, and then in the URL, we're going to paste that browser source that we copied from VDO.Ninja, and watch what happens. There I am. Okay. And you can see that, you know, it brought in everything. Now, obviously my audio is muted, which is why we're not hearing anything. If we jump back to VDO.Ninja and we unmute myself, okay, so now you'll see I'll have some audio that's moving there. And we now go back into OBS Studio, you'll see now that my audio is there and it is doing pretty well. So we've got our solo shot here, and then we've got our guest.
For the 2-shot, instead of repeating the same process, we're just going to add 2 copies of our solo scenes. This feature will save your computer's resources. With our scene set up, we're going to jump to making a few tweaks to our audio mixer. This step is very important to make sure that you record isolated audio tracks.
So if we actually look at our different scenes right here, if we were to record with just our raw scenes that we just created, you're going to notice that in the audio mixer, it's only pulling in my microphone, okay? It's not seeing my guest, okay? Our 2-shot has both of us in frame, and you can see right here in the audio mixer that both of those tracks are coming in. But if I were to click on, say, guest 1 and then click back to me, you're not going to hear myself if for some reason I talk over guest 1 or if guest 1 talks over me. So we're going to fix this by creating new solo shots of both myself and my guest. So for myself, I'm going to again just go with solo Brian, click OK. And on this time, I'm going to reference my scene of camera raw Brian solo. And I'm going to add in my scene of my guest. Okay. I'm going to put my guest below me. Okay. So that in here, no one actually is seeing my guest. They're only seeing me. Okay. But we're going to do the same process for my guest. So if we look at our audio mixer, no matter what scene I jump to, the audio still stays the same. And that is what we want. We don't want different sources being highlighted while we are jumping different scenes. Okay. Because if they're not showing up here in the audio mixer, that means they're not being recorded. And we want to make sure that our recordings are solid. Now, one last thing that we want to do before we're done with our guest audio is actually isolate the audio track that it's going to live on for our recording. Okay. Now to do this, we're going to again click on the little 3 dots. We're going to click on advanced audio properties. And this time we're going to only check that we have program audio on, as well as turning off track 2, because remember, that is the track that our microphone is on, right? We don't want to record over ourselves. Okay. And we'll leave track 3 enabled. Okay. So our final audio scheme is going to be track 1 is going to be everything. It's going to have a program audio on it. It's going to have any music. It's going to have all of our microphones on it. That's going to be basically our scratch track. Okay. That's our insurance right there. It's really what it is. If anything were to happen with any of the ISO tracks, don't worry. Everything's on track 1. Track 2 and 3 are going to be our ISO tracks. Okay. So track 3 is going to be our guest. Track 2 is going to be my microphone. Okay. And we'll click close.
On the subject of audio, this is where you can keep your audio as is and record it clean, or we can get a little nuts.
Come on, let's get nuts.
And record our audio with post-processing enabled. This right here is a major time saver.
Let's take my microphone, for instance, here, and we're just going to click on the 3 dots. And instead of choosing audio properties, we're going to choose filters. Okay. Now in here, we can add different audio filters to our audio as we are recording. This is really handy because what I can do is I can add in some things like noise reduction and EQ and even things like a limiter onto my audio before it's actually recorded. Now, one thing I would suggest doing is that when you are doing this, that you do turn monitoring on. So if you click on the audio properties, advanced audio properties, and you choose monitor off, choose monitor on, because you want to be able to monitor what these different filters are doing to your audio. Okay. So if we click on the little 3 dots and we choose filters, we can click on the plus button and we see we got a bunch of filters here. The one I like to start out with is just some noise suppression. It's always good to have noise suppression on, and you can choose the method of your noise suppression. By default, it picks the good quality, more CPU power one, which is RNN noise. I like that one. But you can choose the lower quality one if your computer can't handle it. Outside of that, one that I really, really like is the noise gate. Okay, so if you type at your keyboard a whole bunch, you can play around with this so that literally your keystrokes won't be heard by your microphone. Another really good one to use would be something like a 3-band equalizer. Okay, now it's very simple, but you can do some adjustments, like maybe if you want to adjust the high end, maybe take a little bit of the mids and add a little bit of bass there. Okay, you can do that all with these little sliders. It's not going to replace going into a normal DAW, but what's nice about this is that this saves you time.
With our audio and scenes all set up, there is one final thing that I'm going to configure, and that is my Streamdeck. If you're unfamiliar with these little devices, they allow you to program hotkeys for OBS, so you're not fumbling around with a mouse as you're trying to live edit your show. Elgato makes this really easy. All you need to do is drag and drop the run scene function from the side panel of OBS Studio Actions. Choose your scene you want to run, and now with the push of a button, you can jump between your 3 different scenes. Now just record your podcast by hitting the start recording button and switch between your different scenes. This setup is honestly pretty basic, but there's a ton of room to grow. As you get better with OBS Studio, you can add in additional scenes, including intro videos, graphics for your call to actions, and even lower thirds, all done inside your recording, which will save you hours of editing later. Once we are actually finished recording, the final step is to prep our OBS recording for editing. I used MKV as my video format, but I want to optimize this for Premiere Pro. So I'll go through the process known as remuxing, or converting my MKV file to an MP4.
So to remux our recording, what we're going to do is first go up to File. We'll go to click on Remux Recordings. And then we'll click on the little 3 dots here to bring up our OBS Studio recording. And there is our file right there. Let's bring that in. Now, all Remuxing is doing is just converting this over to an MP4, which is exactly what we want. And it's going to preserve all of those different audio sources that we set up too. So just point it to either the same folder that we use for our MKV, or we can point it anywhere else. I'm going to keep it where it is, and we'll just hit Remux. And now it is ready to actually bring it into our nonlinear editor.
With an MP4 in hand that is more or less edited, dropping this file into a Premiere Pro timeline, we can see that we've got our isolated audio tracks and video podcast that we can either further tweak with additional graphics or edits, or sweeten the audio in Adobe Audition before exporting. Now, I've been using this process for a few months to make my video podcast, and I gotta tell you, the amount of time saved in producing a weekly video podcast using this method is insane. We're talking going from recorded video podcast to published video podcast in 24 hours. What I love about this method, besides the speed, is that this really scratches the surface on what can be done with OBS Studio. Different community plugins can be added in to fit the style or niche of your podcast. With that said, let us know down in the comments how you're using video for your podcast. And besides OBS Studio, what other recording platforms are you using to make your own video podcast? Now, besides just recording your video podcast, there is a ton that can be done to help optimize it and help it grow on platforms like YouTube. And for that, I suggest checking out this video.